Hi, I'm Ed from Happy Hot Tubs. Today we're going to show you how to maintain clean and safe hot tub water with the Happy Premium Spa Starter Kit. The Happy Premium Spa Starter Kit comes with pH balancers, pH plus and pH minus, 50 chlorine test strips, chlorine granules, some handy measuring spoons, non-chlorine shock, and instant filter cleaner. So why do we balance and maintain hot tub water? Well, to prevent the need to drain and refill like you would a paddling pool, you use these chemicals to keep the water safe and clean so that it's ready to go whenever you want to jump in. So one of the most important parts of balancing hot tub water is testing, and included in our kit is 50 premium chlorine test strips. Test for 4 parameters: free chlorine, alkalinity, pH and total hardness. These are all important parameters when maintaining and balancing hot tub water. So these test strips are really easy to use. You just pop one out of the cap. Always use dry hands because you don't want to spoil the rest in the pack. And it's as simple as dipping 15 centimeters below and comparing the colors on the chart. You will see on the charts there are handy OK brackets so you know where to target. Fundamental to keeping any hot tub clean and safe is sanitizer, and with our premium starter kit we include chlorine granules as the sanitizer. It's a granular form and is added directly to the water. This kills bacteria and keeps everything safe and clean. So your target range when you're using chlorine granules on your test strips is 3 to 5 parts per million. That ensures that no bacteria can grow in the water and is safe and clean for all the users. So when we dose, we have dose rates on the back of the bottle. Today we have a Hot Spring Sovereign, which is 1,200 litres. So to rise the chlorine by 1 part per million for 1,000 litres is 2 grams. So we need 2.4 grams to raise by 1 part per million with this model. It's always worth checking our website or your manufacturer's specification to see what literage your hot tub is. We also recommend that on startup that you bring the chlorine level a little bit higher towards 10 parts per million just to give the system a good clean, especially if it's a first fill, to ensure that anything during travel or from testing in the factory has been cleaned out and killed. So remember, startup we go above 10 parts per million, but the general everyday range is 3 to 5 parts per million. So we're ready to dose with chlorine granules. I pre-filled a spoon with 2.5 grams, which suits this model. And this will raise the chlorine by 1 part per million. This is 1,200 litres, remember. So whenever we add chemicals, I always recommend to put them in the filter housing or in a filter skimmer just to get it circulated quicker. So in this case, we're going to pop the jets on and pop it straight down into the filter housing there. Always leave the cover off for 5 to 10 minutes just to allow it to circulate a little bit and to prevent those initial fumes from damaging anything soft like your pillows and your headrests. So how do we maintain the chlorine level between 3 and 5 parts per million? Well, there's a couple of ways you can do it. One would be a regular smaller dose to keep that level above 3. The other way would be a test every 2 to 3 days and an adjustment dose at that point. It's whatever works for you, and you find a nice routine to keep that chlorine level nice and consistent and above 3 and 5 parts per million. Another really important part of hot tub chemistry is balancing your pH and alkalinity. In this feature, we're going to cover them together. They are different, but they're intrinsically linked, so it's better to cover them off together here. You need to make sure these are balanced for 3 reasons. 1, it can damage components if your pH and alkalinity is not set. You may get skin problems because pHs can really affect your skin, so you need to make sure it's kept nice and balanced, and also chlorine efficiency. If your pH and alkalinity is not within range, you might find you're using much more chlorine than you need to. So first, we'll cover alkalinity. Alkalinity is the measure of the water's capacity to neutralize acids. Complicated, but you don't need to worry about that too much specifically, but what you do need to ensure is that your alkalinity is set before you set your pH. The reason being, if you don't set your alkalinity first, it'll be really hard to balance your pH and it'll be quite a frustrating process. So to measure your alkalinity is quite easy. As we talked before, dip a test strip, compare the colours on the strips. If your alkalinity is low, you will use the pH increaser. if your alkalinity is high, you'll use the pH reducer or pH minus. Now, there is a specific chemical to increase alkalinity called alkalinity plus. pH plus will do the job, but you need to increase the dose. So I would double the dose in this case. So if it's 11 grams, I'd increase that to 22 in order to move the alkalinity. With reducing alkalinity, the only chemical on the market that will do that is pH reducer. So that will reduce alkalinity and pH. But just remember, set the alkalinity first, then the pH as a general rule. So once your alkalinity is set, then you want to look to balance your pH level. pH is how acid or alkaline your water is. It's different to alkalinity, remember, but they are linked. You want to set that alkalinity first and then move on to pH. So the pH level you're aiming to achieve is 7.2 to 7.6. That's ideal range for hot tub water. That means you'll prevent scaling. That means your chlorine will be efficient, and it means that you won't have much impact on your skin. So to achieve that, simply do a test, find where your pH level is, and then follow the dosing instructions, which we'll cover in a second, to adjust the pH level and get it in range. So now we're ready to dose. I've tested this hot tub here and the alkalinity is okay at 100 parts per million. The pH is a little bit low at 6.9, so we're going to do a 13 gram dose to bring that up, hopefully within range of 7.2 to 7.6. What I tend to do with pH is dose and then retest in either 3 to 4 hours, or sometimes I leave it about 12 hours, let it really set, and then I adjust again, or if it's in range, we leave it there. So as we did with chlorine granules, pop the jets on and dose through the filter housing. Again, leave the cover off for 5 to 10 minutes, allow the jets to circulate. It just prevents any damage to the cover or any components and allows the chemical to really dissolve in the water. Another product included in the Happy Premium Spa Starter Kit is non-chlorine shock. Now this great chemical is an odorless oxidizing agent. So what that means is it's not a sanitizer like your chlorine. It doesn't kill bacteria, but what it does do is oxidize or burn off oils and contaminants. It's really good. It works really well alongside the chlorine to make the water nice and clean and clear. This product can be used if you have a specific problem like foaming or a clarity problem when your levels are all set, or it can be used as a regular routine dose, or both. We recommend a routine weekly dose just to keep things running well and to make sure that chlorine is working effectively. So we'll move on to dosing now. So there are a couple of ways you can dose with non-chlorine shock. You could do a dose every time you get out. That is giving the oxidization process of anything that's been brought into the tub by the bathers, or a weekly dose is also sufficient. In this case, I've set up a weekly dose for this hot tub, so 1200 litres. I've worked it out as an 18 gram dose. So what we're going to do is the usual process, put the jets on, and dose into the filter housing. So a weekly dose of non-chlorine shock will just keep everything running nicely, keep that chlorine working efficiently, and keep your water nice and clear. So the last product in our Happy Premium Spa Starter Kit is our instant filter cleaner. This is a really great degreaser and filter cleaner for all hot tubs. So the difference between rinsing a filter with water and spraying on with a degreaser is quite significant. Rinsing with water is fine. You'll remove any leaves or any large debris and things like that. But spraying on the filter cleaner will actually degrease the filter. So it'll get rid of oils and things like that. And it will have a much bigger impact on the water cleanliness. This product is really easy to use. You simply turn off the hot tub to prevent anything going into the pipework, remove the filters, spray the filter cleaner liberally all over the filter, wait 15 minutes, and then give them a really thorough rinse. You want to make sure they're rinsed until there's no foam coming off the filter. That's just to prevent any foam when they're put back in. This product should be used, if you're using your hot tub quite a lot, probably fortnightly would be sufficient. If you're using it a bit less often, monthly would work. But you just want to make sure you do degrease, because a filter that builds up with grease, it's just going to add to clarity problems and make the hot tub a little bit dirty, and it may also mean you're burning through a lot more chlorine. So keeping a clean filter is really key. For more information on how to use this great product, check out our link, which is on the screen now. So that's a video on how to use our Happy Premium Spa Starter Kit to keep your water safe and balanced. As long as you keep your levels in check and apply the right dosing, keep your filter clean, then your hot tub will be kept great and safe to use for all the family. You can find this kit available on our website at www.happyhottubs.co.uk. And if you need any advice, just get in touch with us, we'll be happy to help.